In a distant corner of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's primitive telescopes, there existed an alien civilization known as the Veilans. These beings were unlike anything humans could imagine. Their bodies shimmered with iridescent scales that reflected light in mesmerizing patterns, and their eyes glowed faintly, capable of seeing wavelengths invisible to most species. They had mastered space travel long before humanity even learned to harness fire. For centuries, the Veilans explored the stars, cataloging planets and civilizations, studying them like scientists observing insects under a microscope. Earth was one such planet on their list. To the Veilans, it seemed unremarkable, a small blue-green orb teeming with life but lacking any signs of advanced technology. Humans were nothing more than curious creatures scurrying about, building cities, waging wars, and occasionally sending rockets into space. The Veilans found no reason to fear this species. After all, how dangerous could beings be if they couldn't even leave their own solar system? But everything changed on a quiet day when something strange caught their attention. A routine scan of Earth's atmosphere revealed an anomaly, a massive energy signature buried deep within the planet's skies. At first, the Veilans thought it might be a natural phenomenon, perhaps some form of volcanic activity or magnetic disturbance, but further analysis proved otherwise. This energy signature was artificial, created by intelligent design. It pulsed, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, radiating power strong enough to disrupt nearby star systems if unleashed. Commander Zoran, the leader of the Veilan fleet assigned to monitor Earth, felt a chill run through his spine. He had spent decades leading expeditions across the galaxy, encountering countless civilizations, but never had he seen anything quite like this. Could the humans have developed technology we didn't detect? He wondered aloud, his voice tinged with both awe and unease. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Kale, shook her head skeptically. "Impossible," she replied. "Their progress is too slow. We've been watching them for centuries. If they had such capabilities, we would have noticed." Despite her confidence, Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was unfolding beneath Earth's clouds. Determined to uncover the truth, he ordered his fleet to move closer. The Veilans were masters of stealth, their ships cloaked in invisibility fields that rendered them undetectable to even the most sophisticated sensors. As they approached Earth, their scanners worked tirelessly, probing deeper into the atmosphere. What they discovered left them stunned. Hidden beneath layers of atmospheric camouflage, technology so advanced it defied logic, were thousands of colossal structures. These weren't ordinary buildings or monuments. They were starships, enormous, vessels bristling with weapons, larger than anything the Veilans had ever encountered. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, its sleek metallic hull gleaming faintly despite being concealed from view. Plasma cannons lined their exteriors, capable of firing bursts of energy powerful enough to obliterate entire fleets. Quantum shields surrounded them, creating impenetrable barriers that could withstand even the fiercest attacks. Zoran's mind raced as he processed the implications. How had humanity managed to construct such a fleet without anyone noticing? Where had they acquired the resources and knowledge to build these machines? And most importantly, why had they kept them hidden until now? The questions swirled in his head, each more unsettling than the last. Lieutenant Kale broke the silence, her tone laced with disbelief. This can't be real. Humans aren't supposed to have this kind of power. They're primitives, barely capable of surviving their own conflicts. Her words echoed what everyone aboard the ship was thinking, but the evidence was undeniable. There, floating silently above Earth, was proof that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. As the Veilan fleet hovered in stunned silence, Zoran made a decision. They needed to investigate further. Perhaps the humans hadn't yet activated their fleet. Maybe they still had time to retreat before things escalated. But as he gave the order to send 3 scout vessels closer to Earth's atmosphere, a part of him already knew they were treading on thin ice. Whatever secrets humanity held, they were about to come crashing down upon the unsuspecting Veilans. Little did Zoran realize, humanity wasn't just playing catch-up in the cosmic race for survival. They had been preparing for this moment for years, decades even. Deep underground, teams of scientists, engineers, and strategists had worked tirelessly to ensure Earth would never fall prey to invaders. Every piece of alien wreckage recovered from crashed UFOs, every bit of data stolen from classified government files, had been poured into Project Orion, humanity's ultimate insurance policy against extraterrestrial threats. While the Valans marveled at the sheer scale of Earth's hidden armada, they failed to grasp the full extent of humanity's determination. For centuries, humans had dreamed of exploring the stars, but those dreams were always tempered by fear. The fear of what might lurk beyond their skies. Now, faced with the possibility of invasion, they had transformed that fear into strength. The Star Destroyers weren't just machines, they were symbols of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and will to survive. And so, as the Valans prepared to probe further, unaware of the storm they were about to unleash, Earth remained eerily calm. Its people went about their daily lives, oblivious to the drama unfolding high above their heads. In offices, schools, and homes, humans laughed, argued, and dreamed, completely unaware that their planet was moments away from revealing its deadliest secret. For Commander Zoran and his crew, the realization dawned slowly but surely. Humanity wasn't just a sleeping giant. It was a predator lying in wait, ready to strike at the first sign of danger. And now, the Valans had wandered straight into its jaws. While the Valans hovered above Earth, their minds reeling from the discovery of the hidden Star Destroyers, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the extraterrestrial visitors lurking in their skies. Life on Earth continued as it always had. People went to work, children played in parks, and cities buzzed with activity. But beneath the surface, a different reality existed. Deep underground, in secret facilities scattered across the globe, humanity's greatest minds were hard at work preparing for the very scenario unfolding above them. Project Orion wasn't just a military initiative, it was humanity's lifeline, a desperate attempt to ensure survival in a universe where they were not alone. The project began decades ago, sparked by a series of mysterious events that governments around the world couldn't ignore. Crashed. UFOs recovered from remote deserts, strange signals intercepted from deep space, and unexplained phenomena captured on radar forced leaders to confront an uncomfortable truth. Earth was being watched. And if there were watchers, there might also be invaders. At first, Project Orion focused on reverse engineering alien technology found in those crashed ships. Scientists pored over fragments of advanced machinery, trying to decipher how they worked. It was slow, painstaking work, but eventually breakthroughs came. Alien alloys stronger than steel, energy sources more efficient than anything humans had ever created, and propulsion systems capable of bending the laws of physics. All these became part of humanity's growing arsenal. But technology alone wasn't enough. To truly protect Earth, humanity needed something more: strategy. Military strategists joined forces with engineers and scientists to design weapons and defenses tailored specifically for interstellar warfare. They envisioned scenarios where Earth would face overwhelming odds against superior enemies. Every possibility was considered, from orbital bombardments to full-scale invasions, and countermeasures were developed accordingly. The result was the Star Destroyers, massive vessels designed not only to defend but also to strike fear into the hearts of any potential aggressors. Each ship was a floating fortress equipped with cutting-edge weaponry. Plasma cannons capable of vaporizing asteroids fired shots with pinpoint accuracy. Quantum shields deflected even the most powerful attacks, creating impenetrable barriers around the fleet. Onboard AI systems processed data faster than any human brain could, predicting enemy movements and coordinating responses in real time. Yet what made the Star Destroyers truly formidable wasn't just their hardware, it was their crews. Thousands of men and women had been recruited and trained specifically for this mission. Pilots, engineers, tacticians, and soldiers underwent rigorous preparation, learning to operate the complex machinery aboard the ships. More importantly, They were taught to think like predators. In simulations, they practiced ambush tactics, surprise assaults, and psychological warfare. The goal wasn't just to win battles, it was to annihilate opponents so completely that no one would dare challenge Earth again. Back on the surface, ordinary citizens remained oblivious to the existence of Project Orion. Governments took great care to keep the program under wraps, using disinformation campaigns and strict secrecy protocols to prevent leaks. Even high-ranking officials outside the project knew only fragments of the truth. This level of secrecy was necessary. Panic would spread if people realized aliens might be watching, or worse, planning an attack. Instead, governments reassured the public with stories of peace and progress while quietly funneling resources into building humanity's ultimate defense system. Meanwhile, the Valens grew increasingly uneasy. Their scout vessels probed deeper into Earth's atmosphere, attempting to gather more information about the mysterious fleet. But every scan revealed new layers of complexity. The Star Destroyers weren't just dormant machines waiting to be activated. They were alive, humming with energy and ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Defensive grids surrounded the planet, invisible yet impenetrable. Automated drones patrolled the skies, programmed to neutralize threats instantly. Commander Zoran felt a knot tighten in his chest. He had led countless missions across the galaxy, encountering civilizations far more advanced than his own. Yet never had he faced a species as enigmatic as humanity. Here was a race that appeared primitive on the surface, but possessed secrets buried deep within its core. What troubled him most was the realization that the humans likely didn't know the Valons were there. If they did, the consequences could be catastrophic. On Earth, Project Orion operatives monitored the skies with unwavering vigilance. Massive arrays of satellites tracked every movement in orbit, while ground-based sensors scanned for anomalies. When the Valen fleet entered Earth's vicinity, alarms blared in command centers around the world. Technicians scrambled to analyze the incoming data, cross-referencing it with known profiles of alien vessels. Within minutes, confirmation came. The intruders were unidentified and therefore classified as hostile. General Marcus Kane, the head of Project Orion, stood in the central control room, watching feeds from multiple monitors. His sharp eyes narrowed as he studied the Valen ships. "They're testing us," he muttered, his voice low and steady. Beside him, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lead scientist on the project, nodded grimly. "If they get too close, we'll have no choice but to act." Kane turned to address the team. "Activate Phase 1, he ordered. Instantly, technicians began inputting commands into their consoles. High above Earth, atmospheric camouflage, fields dissolved, revealing the true scale of humanity's hidden fleet. Thousands of Star Destroyers ascended into space, their gleaming hulls catching the sunlight. For the first time in history, humanity unveiled its deadliest weapon. Not to celebrate, but to warn. The Valens watched in stunned silence as the sky seemed to split open. Ships emerged in perfect formation, each one radiating power and menace. Commander Zoran's heart sank as he realized the magnitude of their mistake. They had underestimated humanity, assuming it was weak and vulnerable. Now, they faced the horrifying truth. Earth was protected by a force capable of wiping out entire civilizations. A single transmission crackled through the comms, breaking the tense silence. "You are trespassing in restricted territory," the voice said, calm and cold. "Leave now or face annihilation." There was no anger in the message, no hint of emotion, just a stark warning delivered with chilling precision. Zoran hesitated, torn between retreat and defiance. His instincts screamed at him to flee, but pride held him back. The Valons prided themselves on their superiority, their ability to conquer weaker species. To turn tail and run would be an admission of failure. Reluctantly, he gave the order to send a diplomatic response, hoping to negotiate a peaceful resolution. But humanity wasn't interested in negotiations. Back in the command center, General Kane listened to the Valan transmission with a grim smile. "Let them try," he said softly, his tone laced with confidence. They'll see soon enough what happens when you threaten Earth. As the standoff continued, tension mounted on both sides. The Vaylons tried to reason, explaining their peaceful intentions and offering to withdraw. But humanity's resolve never wavered. They had spent decades preparing for this moment, and they weren't about to let arrogance or ignorance jeopardize their planet's safety. The Star Destroyers loomed ominously, their weapons primed and ready. For the Vaylons, there was only one option left: retreat, or face the wrath of a species far deadlier than they had ever imagined. And so, the stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. The Vaylons had come seeking knowledge, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate your opponent, because sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't technology, it's the will to survive. The tension between the Vaylons and humanity reached a boiling point. Commander Zoran's fleet hovered cautiously in Earth's orbit, their sleek silver ships glinting faintly under the pale light of the distant sun. Despite their advanced technology, the Vaylons couldn't shake the feeling of being outmatched. The sight of thousands of Star Destroyers emerging from Earth's atmosphere had left them shaken, but Zoran refused to believe that this seemingly primitive species could pose a real threat. He convinced himself and his crew that the humans were bluffing, trying to intimidate them into leaving. But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. How had humanity managed to build such an armada without detection? Why had they kept it hidden until now? And most importantly, what would happen if they decided to attack? Back on Earth, General Marcus Kane stood firm in the command center, his sharp eyes fixed on the monitors displaying the alien fleet. Around him, technicians worked tirelessly, feeding data into the AI systems that controlled the Star Destroyers. Every movement of the Vaylan ships was tracked, analyzed, and predicted with precision. Humanity wasn't just reacting, it was preparing to dominate. Kane leaned forward, resting his hands on the console as he addressed his team. "They're stalling," he said, his voice low but commanding. "They're trying to figure us out, hoping we'll make a mistake. Don't give them the chance." His words sent a ripple of determination through the room. These men and women weren't ordinary soldiers. They were humanity's last line of defense, trained for years to handle exactly this kind of situation. Meanwhile, aboard the Vaylan flagship, Zoran wrestled with his options. Retreat seemed like the safest choice, but pride and curiosity held him back. The Vaylons prided themselves on their superiority, believing themselves to be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. To flee from a species they deemed inferior would damage their reputation irreparably. And yet the sheer scale of Earth's hidden fleet made retreat seem less cowardly and more sensible. Zoran turned to Lieutenant Kale, his trusted second-in-command. "We need to know more," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "Send 3 scout vessels closer. If they fire, we'll know they mean business, but if not..." He trailed off, unwilling to finish the thought. The implication was clear. If the humans didn't retaliate, the Vaylons might still have the upper hand. Kyle hesitated, her glowing eyes reflecting uncertainty. "Commander, this feels reckless. What if..." "No what ifs," Zoran interrupted, sharply. "We've come too far to turn back now. We must understand what we're dealing with." Reluctantly, Kale relayed the order. 3 sleek Vaylan scout ships detached from the main fleet, their engines humming softly as they descended toward Earth's outer atmosphere. They moved cautiously, staying just outside the range of the defensive grids that surrounded the planet. Their mission was simple: gather intelligence and test the humans' resolve. On Earth, the automated systems detected the scouts instantly. Alarms blared throughout the command center, alerting General Kane and his team to the intrusion. "They're pushing their luck," Kane muttered, watching the feeds closely. He turned to Dr. Elena Vasquez, who stood nearby, analyzing the incoming data. "What do you think?" he asked. "They're probing us," Vasquez replied, her tone clinical. "Testing our defenses, seeing how far they can go before we react." Kane nodded grimly. "Then let's show them exactly what happens when you mess with Earth." He turned to one of the technicians. Activate Phase 2. Target the scouts. The technician complied without hesitation, inputting commands into the system. High above Earth, the Star Destroyers shifted slightly in formation, their massive hulls gleaming ominously. Plasma cannons powered up, glowing with an eerie blue, light as energy surged through their cores. The AI systems locked onto the Velan scouts, calculating trajectories and predicting movements with terrifying accuracy. The Velans had no idea what was coming. Their scouts continued their descent, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Then, without warning, the sky erupted in a blaze of light. Bolts of plasma shot forth from the Star Destroyers, streaking across space with incredible speed. The Velan scouts barely had time to react before they were engulfed in explosions, their sleek hulls disintegrating into clouds of debris. Aboard the Velan flagship, chaos broke out. Zoran stared in disbelief at the screen showing the destruction of his scouts. What just happened? He stammered, his voice trembling. Kale was equally stunned, her glowing eyes wide with shock. They fired, she whispered. They actually fired. The remaining Velan ships scrambled to evade, breaking formation as panic spread through their ranks. But the humans weren't done yet. The Star Destroyers moved with precision, forming a perfect blockade that trapped the Velans between Earth and the cold void of space. Plasma cannons continued to fire, targeting stragglers and forcing the alien fleet into tighter clusters. Each shot was calculated, each explosion a demonstration of humanity's lethal efficiency. For the Velans, it was a nightmare. Their advanced cloaking fields and maneuvering capabilities were useless against the humans' superior firepower and AI-driven tactics. Ships that tried to escape were cut down mercilessly, while those that stayed in formation found themselves pinned in place. It was as if the humans had anticipated every move they made. General Kane watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. "Teach them a lesson they won't forget," he said, his voice cold and unyielding. Beside him, Dr. Vasquez nodded silently, her expression unreadable. She had spent years working on Project Orion, dreaming of a day when humanity would stand tall against any threat. Now that dream was becoming a reality. As the battle raged on, the Velans realized too late that they had underestimated their opponent. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was asserting dominance. The Star Destroyers weren't tools of war. They were symbols of power, designed to send a message to anyone who dared threaten Earth. That message was clear: do not cross us. Commander Zoran knew there was only one option left: retreat. With a heavy heart, he gave the order to withdraw. The surviving Velan ships turned tail and fled, their once proud fleet reduced to a shadow of its former self. As they disappeared into the depths of space, the Star Destroyers remained in position, their weapons trained on the horizon, ready for anything. In the aftermath, silence fell over the battlefield. Back on Earth, life continued as usual. Most people remained unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding above their heads. Only those in the command center knew the truth, and they took great care to ensure it stayed that way. For now, humanity had proven itself stronger than anyone had imagined. But Kane knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, other civilizations were watching, learning and plotting, and when they came, humanity would be ready. The Velan fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, their once mighty ships battered and broken. Survivors clung to life in damaged vessels, their pride shattered along with their confidence. Commander Zoran sat in stunned silence aboard the flagship, his glowing eyes reflecting the dim emergency lights flickering above him. He replayed the battle over and over in his mind, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. The humans, primitive, insignificant beings who hadn't even ventured beyond their own solar system, had outmaneuvered, outgunned, and utterly humiliated the Velans. Lieutenant Kale approached cautiously, her voice soft but urgent. "Commander, we've regrouped what's left of the fleet. Casualties are severe." She paused, hesitant to deliver the full extent of the damage. "We lost nearly half our ships." Zoran clenched his fists, his scales shimmering faintly. As waves of frustration coursed through him. "How? he demanded, turning to face her. How could they have done this? We're the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, and yet… His voice trailed off, choked by a mix of anger and disbelief. Kale lowered her gaze. They were ready for us, sir. Every move we made, they countered. It was like they knew exactly what we would do before we did it. Zoran leaned back in his chair, staring at the holographic display showing the remnants of his fleet. The image was grim, a fraction of the proud armada that had entered Earth's orbit. For centuries, the Veilons had explored the stars, encountering countless species weaker than themselves. They had grown complacent, assuming their dominance was unshakable. Now they faced a harsh truth. Humanity wasn't just dangerous, it was deadly. Back on Earth, General Marcus Kane stood in the command center, watching as the last of the Veilon ships disappeared into the void. Satisfaction flickered across his face, but it was short-lived. Turning to Dr. Elena Vasquez, he asked, "Do you think they'll come back?" Vasquez crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. "It depends. If they're smart, they'll spread the word about what happened here today. No one will want to mess with Earth after this." Kane nodded slowly, his sharp eyes scanning the monitors. "Good. That's exactly what we want, to make them fear us. But don't forget there are others out there. Species smarter, stronger, and more ruthless than the Veilons. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning." His words hung heavy in the air. The team around him understood the gravity of the situation. Project Orion wasn't built for a single battle. It was humanity's insurance policy against an entire universe of potential threats. Today's victory proved that Earth could defend itself, but it also raised questions. How many other civilizations were watching? Would they see the Veilons' defeat as a warning or as an invitation to test humanity's limits? In the days that followed, the surviving Veilons retreated to a nearby star system, licking their wounds and trying to process their failure. Morale among the crew was at an all-time low. Whispers of mutiny began to circulate, fueled by resentment toward Zoran's leadership. Some argued that retreating had been cowardly, while others believed staying and fighting would have been suicidal. Amidst the chaos, Zoran called an emergency meeting with his senior officers. "We underestimated them," he admitted, his voice low but firm. "I take full responsibility for that mistake. But now, we must decide. Do we report this incident to the Council or do we handle it ourselves?" The room fell silent. Reporting their defeat to the Veilon High Council meant admitting failure, not just to their leaders but to the entire galaxy. News of such a crushing loss would tarnish the Veilons' reputation forever. On the other hand, handling it themselves carried its own risks. If they returned to Earth seeking revenge, they risked another devastating defeat, or worse, complete annihilation. One officer, a grizzled veteran named Captain Reinar, spoke up. "Sir, we can't let this stand. If we do nothing, other species will see us as weak. They'll challenge us, invade our territories, and take what's ours. We have no choice. We must strike back." Zoran frowned, considering the advice. While Reinar's argument held merit, something inside him hesitated. The memory of those towering star destroyers emerging from Earth's atmosphere haunted him. He had seen the cold determination in the humans' actions, the precision, the efficiency, the sheer ruthlessness. They weren't just defending themselves, they were making a statement. Attacking again might not only fail but provoke humanity into launching a counteroffensive. Before Zoran could respond, Lieutenant Kale interjected. "Captain, you're underestimating them again. Did you see how quickly they dismantled our fleet? They didn't hesitate, they didn't falter. They struck first and struck hard. If we go back, we'll lose everything." Reinar scowled. "And if we don't, we lose our honor." "Honor won't save us if we're dead," Kale shot back, her voice rising. "Earth is a fortress world. Those star destroyers aren't just weapons, they're a message. Stay away, or die. That's what they're telling us." The tension in the room was palpable. Finally, Zoran raised a hand to silence the debate. "Enough," he said firmly. "We will not return to Earth, not yet. Our priority is survival. I'll draft a report for the Council explaining what happened. We'll focus on rebuilding our fleet and strengthening our defenses. Only then can we consider our next move. Though some officers grumbled in protest, most accepted Zoran's decision. Pride was important, but survival was paramount. As the meeting adjourned, Zoran remained seated, staring blankly at the table. He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had changed the rules of the game. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, dominance was earned through strength and cunning. But the humans had shown something else entirely, a willingness to fight without restraint, to protect their home at any cost. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Project Orion operatives worked tirelessly to analyze data collected during the battle. Every piece of information was cataloged and studied, from the Vaylons' ship designs to their tactics. Scientists pored over wreckage recovered from destroyed alien vessels, searching for weaknesses that could be exploited in future encounters. Military strategists reviewed recordings of the battle, identifying areas where humanity's response could improve. General Kane addressed his team during a debriefing session. Today we proved that humanity is not to be trifled with, but let's not kid ourselves. This was just a taste of what's out there. There are bigger, badder things lurking in the shadows. And sooner or later they'll come knocking. Dr. Vasquez nodded in agreement. Which is why we need to keep pushing forward. Upgrade our technology, refine our strategies, and prepare for anything. Because when the next threat arrives, we won't get a second chance. The team dispersed, each member heading to their respective stations to continue the work that never truly ended. For Kane and his people, there was no time to rest. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, and Earth was still vulnerable despite its newfound strength. But one thing was certain. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, and it had done so with guns blazing. As night fell over Earth, cities lit up with artificial lights, oblivious to the drama unfolding high above. People went about their lives, unaware that their planet had just become a legend among the stars. Stories of Earth's hidden fleet and its devastating power would spread far and wide, whispered in awe and fear by civilizations across the galaxy. For Commander Zoran and the Vaylons, the lesson was clear. Never underestimate your opponent. Because sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't technology, it's the will to survive. And humanity had proven that it possessed both in abundance. The Vaylon fleet drifted silently through the cold expanse of space, their damaged ships trailing wisps of plasma like ghostly scars. Commander Zoran sat alone in his quarters, staring at the holographic map of Earth that hovered before him. The image was beautiful, a small blue-green orb suspended against the infinite blackness. But it filled him with dread. What had seemed so insignificant, so primitive, now loomed in his mind as a colossus. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a fortress, guarded by beings who were willing to do whatever it took to protect it. Zoran replayed the battle over and over, dissecting every decision he had made. He realized now how arrogant he had been. The Vaylons had always assumed themselves superior, believing their advanced technology and centuries of exploration made them untouchable. But humanity had proven them wrong. They hadn't relied on brute force or sheer numbers. They had outsmarted the Vaylons at every turn. Their star destroyers weren't just machines. They were extensions of human ingenuity, determination, and willpower. Worst of all, the humans hadn't hesitated. When the Vaylons crossed the line, humanity struck back without mercy. Lieutenant Kale entered the room cautiously, her glowing eyes reflecting concern. "Commander," she began softly, "the Council has requested an update on our status." Zoran sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. "Tell them we're returning home, and tell them this mission was a failure." His voice cracked slightly on the last word, a rare moment of vulnerability from the usually stoic leader. Kale nodded, but didn't leave immediately. Instead, she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Sir, you know what this means. Once the Council hears about this, other species will too. Earth's reputation will spread across the galaxy." "Yes," Zoran replied grimly. "And when it does, no one will dare challenge them again. Not after seeing what they did to us." As the Vaylons retreated deeper into space, news of their defeat began to circulate among nearby star systems. At first, whispers traveled cautiously, carried by traders and explorers who had heard rumors of a mysterious blue planet capable of obliterating entire fleets. Over time, those whispers grew louder, evolving into legends. Tales of Earth's hidden armada spread like wildfire, painting humanity not as a primitive species but as ruthless warriors guarding their territory with deadly precision. Other civilizations listened intently. Some dismissed the stories as exaggerations, refusing to believe that a species so young could pose any real threat. Others saw the warnings for what they were, proof that humanity was not to be underestimated. Among these was the Kraloth Empire, a militaristic civilization known for its expansionist policies. For years, the Kraloths had eyed Earth's resources, planning to conquer the planet and enslave its inhabitants. Now, however, they hesitated. If even the mighty Valens had fallen, what hope did anyone else have? Back on Earth, life continued, as usual. Most people remained unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding above their heads. Governments maintained strict secrecy around Project Orion, ensuring that ordinary citizens went about their daily routines without fear of alien invasion. In underground command centers, though, the work never stopped. Scientists analyzed data collected during the battle, refining weapon systems and developing new technologies. Military strategists ran endless simulations, preparing for scenarios far worse than the Valon encounter. General Marcus Kane stood in the central control room, watching monitors displaying feeds from deep space sensors. Every day, reports came in of unidentified objects skirting the edges of Earth's solar system. Some were harmless asteroids or comets, while others were probes sent by curious or hostile civilizations. Each detection triggered heightened alert levels, forcing the team to remain vigilant. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached Kane, holding a tablet filled with updates. "We've detected another spike in activity near Neptune," she said, her tone neutral but laced with concern. "It's probably nothing, but we can't afford to take chances," Kane finished for her. He turned to address the team. "Prepare Phase 3 protocols. I want every defensive grid online and ready to deploy within minutes." The technicians nodded, their fingers flying across keyboards as commands were inputted into the system. High above Earth, invisible barriers shimmered faintly, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Plasma cannons aboard the Star Destroyers hummed softly, primed to unleash devastation if needed. Humanity's defenses were stronger than ever, a testament to the lessons learned from the Valon skirmish. Despite the constant vigilance, Kane couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had faced its first real test in the galactic arena and passed with flying colors. The Valon's defeat had sent a clear message to the universe. Earth was not a target. It was a stronghold, protected by beings who refused to bow to anyone. Months passed and the legend of Earth grew. Stories of its towering star destroyers and relentless defenders became folklore among the stars. Travelers spoke of a planet where the skies split open to reveal an unstoppable fleet, where invaders were met with overwhelming force. Some called it a warning, others called it inspiration. Either way, Earth's name echoed throughout the galaxy, striking fear into the hearts of potential aggressors. For Commander Zoran, the memory of that fateful encounter haunted him long after his return to Valon territory. The Council had stripped him of his rank, exiling him to a remote outpost as punishment for his failure. But Zoran bore the shame quietly, knowing he deserved it. He spent his days staring at the stars, wondering if humanity's rise marked the beginning of a new era, one where the balance of power shifted away from older, established civilizations like the Valens. One evening, as Zoran gazed at the distant glow of Earth's sun, a young Valan recruit approached him hesitantly. "Sir," the recruit began, "is it true? Did they really destroy your fleet?" Zoran turned to face the young alien, his expression somber. "Yes," he admitted, "they did, and they would have done it again if we'd stayed." The recruit frowned, clearly struggling to comprehend such a concept. But why? Why would they fight so hard for something so small? Zoran smiled bitterly. Because it's not small to them. To them, it's everything. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't care about size or strength or odds. They care about survival. and they'll stop at nothing to protect what's theirs. The recruit nodded slowly, absorbing the lesson. As he walked away, Zoran returned his gaze to the stars, feeling both admiration and unease. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through diplomacy or negotiation, but through sheer willpower. They had shown the galaxy that they were deadlier than anyone had anticipated. On Earth, General Kane reflected on the same truth. Humanity's journey into the cosmos had only just begun, but already it had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. The Valens had been a test, a baptism by fire, and humanity had risen to the occasion. Yet Kane knew this was merely the start. Out there, beyond the reaches of Earth's solar system, countless civilizations awaited. Some would seek peace, eager to learn and trade. Others would come seeking conquest, viewing Earth as a prize to be claimed. When they arrived, humanity would be ready. Its star destroyers would stand guard, its automated grids would watch the skies, and its people would fight with everything they had. Because in the vast, unpredictable expanse of the universe, survival depended on one simple rule: never underestimate your opponent. And sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't technology, it's the will to survive.